All right, I'm Craig Loper. He is Scott Jackson, Commanders post-game show radio host. He's also the host of the Scott Jackson Show. Scott, here we go. Week 8, Commanders sort of desperate for a win. A lot of questions. Sam Howell, the sacks, Ron Rivera's demeanor. You brought up something we were talking off camera. Rivera's decision-making, game management. Just break it down for me. How do you view it right now? It just seems a little off. No, it was terrible last week against the Giants. You look back at that game, the first Giants touchdown, they got a second chance at a third down instead of taking a 4th and 3, fourth and goal from the 3.5. He gives them another chance. Tyrod Taylor throws a touchdown. That's 7 points. They're probably kicking a field goal there, the way their offense is playing. And if you saw in the previous week, they're not very good inside the 5. And the Commanders are actually really good in that area as a defense. You just gave him more field. They beat you on the third down touchdown. Bad decision. Also, they're down 14-0 in the game. They're awful on third down. You got a 3rd and 5. The clock is running down. Ron Rivera stands next to the ref all the time during the game. I don't know how he didn't see the play clock or anybody on the staff screaming, we're going to take a delay here, hurry up, and not burn a timeout. And they had 3 timeouts to burn. Completely unacceptable from a head coach. We also saw the game, when they're losing the Bears, he comes out at halftime and he tells the nation he had nothing to say at halftime. And you're like, what is it you do here? Yeah. You're the head coach. You're not coaching defense. You're not coaching offense. You're supposed to be in charge of the whole thing. You show some leadership, and it's very much so lacking. And I'd love to know what Josh Harris is thinking as he's watching all this unfold as the lead owner of this new group. He can't be really excited about it. Yeah, all good points there. It's the NFC East. There's a lot of, everyone's down on the Commanders, right? And rightfully so. But it's the NFL. The Commanders played a close game against Philly in week, 4, I guess? Yep. And these are division rivals. They know each other well. We know maybe on paper Washington will have the best chance, but in reality they have a chance. So what do you think of their chance? How do they get it done possibly in week 8? Well, yeah, and again, like the desperate team sometimes is the most dangerous team in the NFL. This is a very desperate team. It's been a desperate week. There's a lot of questions about, the staff, about the players, who's, whether they should make a quarterback change, these kind of things. We'll see if they can bring it together. But yeah, look, they need it. They'll go 0-3 in the division to start. Leaving the month of October would be a really tough one to dig out of at 3-5, even though it doesn't seem like the end of the world. And say, well, mathematically they're on a game out or whatever. But again, 3 down in the division, that's not a good spot to be in. So they've got to play kind of like they did in Philly, high level. They got to play smart. They got to have a little balance, which they don't often do. And hopefully they maybe keep that Philadelphia Washington crowd that's going to be there out of the game and not get involved. Get to know the names. Most people know these names already, but Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat from Chesapeake, Virginia. They're Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. These names are the Eagles' defensive linemen, Scott, and it's been a problem because Sam Howell has been sacked 40 times. What in the heck do they got to do to keep this guy? Every game I feel like he's been sacked 5 times on average. Right. What can we get it to 2 sacks? What's it going to take? Well, look, they got to have a better plan than they had against Wink Martindale. That was embarrassing. I don't know what they thought. Wink Martindale, everybody knows who he is, right? And they almost seemed surprised that he was sent to the house, gave up 5 sacks in the first half, 1 in the second half, which was a big improvement. Right. They got to max protect them, but again, balance. Keep them, run at them. I don't know how many times you have to say it. You see, as great as the Cowboys pass rushes, Micah Parsons, how they've been beaten this year and the times they've beaten, people run at them, That's what you have to do, and same thing with Philly. You want to slow down the pass rush, run the football at them. And that I don't know if that part of the play sheet from Kansas City didn't make it to Washington or what, but we don't see it often enough. This is a so overly unbalanced team. It's embarrassing because, again, they didn't bring Pat Mahomes. Yeah. So, it'd be great if you had Pat Mahomes and you're doing that and he can extend every play. Trade deadline's coming up. Maybe you get him. But you don't. And they got to protect this young quarterback, and that's the best way to do it. Run the ball and give him a chance. And just quickly, our last subject for this week's web exclusive, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, topics of discussion for trades. I think Commanders are open for a minimum 3rd, but reports say they want a 2nd for Young or Sweat. What do you think? Do they stay put or do they make a move? I think if they get one of those offers, they would have to make a move because you're not going to be able to keep both of them more than likely. You don't want to take less than a 3rd or a 3rd because really you get a 3rd in compensatory anyway if you lose them in free agency. Okay. So I don't think it makes sense. Like that draft value board that Jimmy Johnson came up with 40 years ago. I think they're still using that. Somebody's using it. Anyway, something like that, you got to figure out if it's worth more than the 1 compensatory you would get for losing them in free agency. And yeah, I think, look, both of them could help a team. There's no doubt. It would be nice if they could help this team. Yeah. And I think Chase has done some really good things this year, but it's just unfortunate that they're in this weird space of the contract and they haven't got anything done with Sweat already, so it kind of puts the pressure on them to make a move now. Yeah, pass rusher is always valuable at the trade deadline too. In recent years, it was Von Miller, it was Yannick Ngakoue a few years ago, stuff like that. So he is Scott Jackson. I'm Craig Loper. That has been this week's Washington Huddle web exclusive.